Busting the Greatest RuneScape Myths, Episode 2. Does stomping on a pile of 3 balloons in the Falador party room give you a better chance of receiving an item as opposed to stomping on a single balloon? Should you be running or walking when crossing those pesky leaf traps? Will I ever get a girlfriend? Wait, what? Is using a teleport tablet or using a teleport spell faster? Warning, some answers may shock you. These questions are hopefully now going to have a definitive answer, so join me for the second episode of Mythbusting RuneScape. Just like my unusual money-making series, all of you can be involved in this as well. If you want me to test a theory or myth to see if it's true or not, leave it as a comment under this video, and if I like it, I'll include it in the next myth-busting episode. Not everyone's suggestion needs to be a true legendary RuneScape myth, just things that maybe you are curious to know more about and want to see me explore further in a future video. If you enjoy this series and want to see more, please make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. Up first, a myth from Tractor J. He says, in the Falador party room, the stack of 3 balloons have a lower rate of having items than the solo balloons. Great question. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm at a drop party in the party room, I always go for the stack of 3 balloons, mainly because it feels like there's a better chance to get something because, well, there's 3 balloons as opposed to just a single balloon. More balloons equals a better chance at an item, right? Well, Tractor thinks it's the opposite. He says that there's less of a chance to get an item from a 3 stack. I knew that this was going to be a very tough myth to test, but luckily I managed to find a conclusive answer. There's one thing we have to do first though, and that's check out this comment from MDS. They say, myth, you're currently not hungry and totally don't want something healthy and filling. Okay, well, you got me there. I'm actually very hungry. Good. Check outside your front door. My front door. What? Midday squares. Whoa. Midday squares are the perfect, healthy, protein-filled afternoon snack. Made entirely of superfoods, all the ingredients are gluten-free, organic, plant-based goodness. They keep you full and satisfied, and you don't feel bad and sluggish after pounding one down. They are loaded with clean and high-quality ingredients, and believe it or not, they taste incredible. My favorite flavor, peanut butter, pretty much tastes like a Reese's bar. You can choose between fudge, almond crunch, or peanut butter, or if you're feeling crazy, try all 3. If you'd like more information about Midday Squares, you can find everything you're looking for on their website. You can find them in the US or Canada by visiting stores like Sprouts, Whole Foods, and Wegmans. Make sure to check up on their website to see when their online stock is back and ready to go. Click the link below to find out more. In order to solve this myth, we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Let's first find out some things about the Falador party room that will help us with this myth. Number 1, how many balloons fall to the ground when you host a balloon bonanza? I pulled the lever 4 times and found out some interesting things. So each time I did this, 200 total balloons fell to the ground. All the spaces in the party room don't actually have a balloon dropped on them, and it's random which spot it is every time. A lot of you know that there are triple balloons and single balloons, but did you know that there are double balloons as well? Triple balloons always have the same 3 colors: red, yellow, and light blue. Double balloons are always light green and light blue, and single balloons can either be pink, green, red, blue, white, or yellow. There are no single light blue and light green balloons. So how many of these 200 balloons are triple, double, and single balloons, and do the same amount spawn every time? Surprisingly, no. Here are how many balloons spawned during the 4 tests. As you can see, a different amount spawned every time. Sometimes more triple balloons spawn than double balloons, and sometimes more double balloons spawn than triple balloons. It seems to be random every time. Just like when you drop an item, the balloons start despawning after 2 minutes. They don't stay there forever. So now the big question, do you have a better chance of getting an item from a pile of 3 balloons versus a pile of 1? I tested this for hours with some friends. I put in full inventories of rune daggers and ropes. I had each of them pop a certain type of balloon, either the single, double, or triple, and I had them all tell me how many items they got. The results were inconclusive. It felt like there were too many variables that I wasn't accounting for. For example, when dropping 28 items, it seemed like all 28 items were found within the first 50 balloons or so, even though another 150 balloons still needed to be popped or spawned. I felt like I didn't have enough evidence for a conclusive answer, so I did the only thing I could think of. I tweeted at a Jagex moderator asking for an answer. And which better Jmod to ask than Jagex Ash himself. So, Ash, is there a better chance of getting an item from a pile of 3 balloons versus a pile of 1? Here's what he said. Doesn't make a difference. It's just a graphical variant. This response made me sad. Why on earth did Jagex decide it would make sense to have the option to stomp on 3 balloons at once and it not give you a better chance at getting an item? It feels wrong. And I'm mad, but I shouldn't be, but I am, okay? You could technically just look at every balloon as a single balloon, a double balloon, or a triple balloon pile. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because all of them are just graphical variants of one another, and they all give you the same chance of getting an item. Myth busted. Jack says that he loves the way I made sure to pronounce the name Mike Hawk. Thanks, man. Is there a different way to pronounce it? He also wants to know if using teleport tablets or using teleport spells is faster. That is a great question. Before I tell you guys the answer, what do you think? All of us have used teleport tablets and spells thousands of times, but which one is faster? Well, let's test it. If we time the action from the moment we click the spell to the moment I'm able to move again, we can see that it takes exactly 2.23 seconds. When using the teleport tablet, it takes 3.16 seconds. So the spell is superior to the tablet when it comes to the time it takes to use it. Here's some other interesting teleport facts. It takes an average of 2.26 seconds to use the dueling ring and the games necklace, but for some reason, an amulet of glory takes an average of 3.02 seconds. To answer Jack's original question, teleport spells are faster than teleport tablets. Here's a myth from Nicholas. Myth. Iazor seeds, the ones that lower disease chance, will give you more herbs on average than an Addis seed, the one that increases yield, because the amount of herbs you save from dying will be higher than the extra yield you get. This is a great question and one that's best answered on my Iron Man account, Bond Waster, that has 99 farming and hundreds of seeds to choose from. I've also got lots of Ultra Compost to use and Magic Secateurs for harvesting. For this test, I'll be planting high-level seeds and low-level seeds. Torstal seeds, which require 85 farming to plant, and Irit seeds, which require 44 farming. In total, we're going to do 14 herb runs with an Addis seed planted, so 7 runs with Torstals and 7 runs with Irits, then the exact same thing except with an Iazor seed planted. Let's start with the Addis seed. Here's the exact definition of what it does. From the moment the seed is planted, the seed increases the yield of a player's farming patches worldwide by increasing the chance to save a life by 5% of the base chance. To put it simply, this seed will give you more herbs over time. Here's how my 14 runs went with this seed planted. I harvested 503 Torstals for an average of 71.8 Torstals per herb run, however 6 of my Torstals died. I harvested 530 Irits for an average of 75.7 Irits per herb run, and none of my Irit seeds died. Next up, the Iazor seed. From the moment the seed is planted, the Iazor plant will decrease the chance of farming patches becoming deceased during growth by about 80% worldwide. I harvested 520 Torstals for an average of 74.2 Torstals per run. 0 of my Torstals died with the Iazor seed planted. I then harvested 525 Irits for an average of 75 Irits per herb run. Here's how the results stack up. Due to the Iazor seed effect, 0 of my Torstal seeds died in comparison to the 6 that died with the Addis seed planted. Because of this, I averaged 2.4 more Torstals per herb run with the Iazor seed planted. Since the Irit seeds are such a low-level seed to plant, the chance of them dying in the first place was already very low, so luckily, with both the Iazor seed and the Addis seed planted, none of my Irits died. There wasn't a big difference in Irits received though. I only got 0.7 more Irits per herb run with the Addis seed planted. Here's what I think. If you have high-level seeds planted, like Torstals, Dwarfweeds, Lantodimes, Cadentines, and Snapdragons, I would play it safe and use an Iazor seed. Keeping your herbs alive will net you more herbs later on than what the Addis seed could offer you with this extra yield. When it comes to lower level seeds, however, you should be safe to use an Addis seed, which should get you more herbs as long as they aren't dying. I'm going to say myth confirmed. Even though the Iazor seed doesn't promise extra yield like the Addis seed does, you'll still end up harvesting more simply because you don't have any of your herbs dying. Up next, a myth from Mithril Monarch. He says, Soup, I'm begging you, please test the myth that having run energy off makes the Arty Knights less likely to move when pickpocketing. I hear people preach this all the time, and I honestly think it's hearsay. Okay, here's what he means. If you trap the southwestern Arty Knight in this house by using a few slide tricks like walking under him to force him to to move towards the house, you'll end up trapping him in the house, and since he's out of his normal range, he tries to move back, except he can't. He gets stuck on the wall and can only move between these two tiles. This is perfect for people looking to pickpocket because the knight barely moves, but he still moves, and Monarch wants me to test how often he moves between these two tiles with my run on and off. So let's get to it. I dressed up in my best Arty Knight's gear, which is just the rogue's outfit and an HP cape, and got to work. 15 minutes with run off and 15 minutes with run on. There's honestly not much to talk about here. The knight occasionally moves one tile at once and occasionally moves two tiles at once. The frequency at which he moves seems to be totally random as well. Here's how many times he moved with my run energy off, and here's how many times he moved with my run energy on. In both cases, I can't make this number up, he moved 73 times. Monarch, you are 100% correct, it's definitely hearsay. I don't know how this myth came about, but we can definitely confirm that it is busted. Hakaka asks, can you see the Chaos Elemental in Free-to-Play Worlds by being close enough to the fence, being there at the right moment? I remember seeing it myself back in the 2007 days without having membership. This one is a fairly easy one to test. We head out to 50 Wilderness, get right next to the fence that separates free-to-play and pay-to-play, and wait to see if the Chaos Ellie appears. In pay-to-play worlds, it is possible to see the boss from the opposite side of the fence, as you can see in this clip. I waited in a free-to-play world for over 10 minutes, and unfortunately was not able to see the Chaos Ellie a single time. We can test this though with other NPCs that are closer to the fence. The wolves and hellhounds are much easier to spot in pay-to-play worlds. After hopping between free-to-play and pay-to-play worlds though, they did not appear on my screen, so we can confirm that they are in fact hidden, at least in this version of the game. Maybe, back in the good old days, you were able to see members items and NPCs in free-to-play worlds. For those of you who played back then, what do you remember about this myth? In 2002 Runescape though, we can confirm that this myth is busted. Gerben Bacher asks, does having your run energy on or off influence the success rate of passing a pitfall leaf trap? He feels that when he runs towards the pitfall trap, he has a higher chance of successfully jumping over as opposed to if he were just walking. Okay, the leaf trap. I'd say the second most annoying trap in the forest behind the tripwire trap. What is the absolute best way to get across this trap? I asked around and found quite a few interesting answers about how people approach these traps. Some people click on the front of the trap, and some people click on the other side. When right-clicking the trap at a certain angle, you can sometimes see that 2 or even 3 options appear to jump across, which makes me think that there are multiple right-click options for this trap. We've got multiple tests for this. I'm going to test walking to the trap and clicking on the front and back side, and I'm going to run towards the trap while clicking on the front and back side as well. I tested each of these methods 100 times. There is a very wrong way to cross this trap, and that is clicking on the opposite side of the trap when trying to cross, no matter if you're running or walking. I failed 100 out of 100 times while both walking and running. The same can be said for clicking in the middle of the trap. That will never work either. You're always going to fail. What does work, however, is clicking on the front of the trap when crossing. It doesn't matter if you're walking or running. Both have around the same success rate. For me, I successfully crossed the trap 90 out of 100 times while both walking and running and clicking on the front of the trap. If you're going to cross this trap, make sure to always click on the side closest to you. Walking or running does not matter. Nicholas followed up with another question, asking, similarly, does weight affect success rate on these traps? Great question, and something I definitely wanted to try out, so I grabbed myself a granite helm, body and plate legs, and had a nice total weight of 43 kilograms. I then once again jumped 100 times across the leaf trap and successfully crossed 85 out of 100 times. 5 less than when I had no weight at all. A slight difference, which makes me think that there is a slightly higher chance of failing the more you weigh. To answer the original myth, no, there is no difference when walking or running towards this trap. It only matters where you click on it when crossing. Solo Mission comes in with a myth. Does spam clicking the floor in the Desert Treasure Pyramid actually decrease the chance of getting kicked out? At the end of the quest Desert Treasure, you have to make your way through 4 floors of mazes and traps. All of you remember this annoying and frustrating section. Almost all of you most likely found yourself getting kicked out multiple times, having to restart your run over and over. Solo wants to know if spam clicking our way through will prevent us, or at least give us a lower chance of getting caught by one of these traps and getting kicked out. We're going to test this on the bottom floor of the pyramid. 50 runs without spam clicking and 50 runs with spam clicking. Without spam clicking, I successfully reached the end of the first floor 46 out of 50 times, failing only a total of 4 times. However, when spam clicking, get this, I also failed 4 times. No difference whatsoever. I'm going to solidly conclude that there is no difference between clicking occasionally in here and spam clicking. I did find out about a method, however, that does get you through the entire pyramid without activating a single trap. all you have to do while running through the floors is constantly opening your house options. Yup, as long as you have this menu open, there's pretty much no chance of failing. I ran through the entire pyramid, all 4 floors, 5 times without opening my house options and got kicked out 3 times. I then ran through 5 more times while having my house options opened and failed 0 times. So the next time you find yourself doing this quest and you get to this annoying section, don't forget to open up your house options. To answer Solo Mission's myth, no, spam clicking does not make a difference when running through the pyramid. Myth busted. Here's a myth from Galuza. For the few quests that have you fetch items for NPCs, does clicking out of the text box allow you to re-roll the items? He remembers Arty, a Runescape streamer, doing it with the Fairy Tale Part 1 quest. There's a couple of quests in the game that I can think of that require you to get a random list of items for NPCs, the main 2 being the Fairy Tale Part 1 quest and in the Giant Dwarf quest, when the dwarves ask you to fetch certain ores for them. First up, let's test Fairy Tale Part 1. Now, I did not have any accounts available to me where I could test this right away. So I made a brand new account and got all the requirements for this quest just to test this myth, because I love you guys. During Fairy Tale Part 1, Malignant Mortified asks you for 3 random items. On a main account, it's not too big of a deal what you get since you can just buy most of the things on the Grand Exchange, but on Iron Man accounts, there are some annoying items that you can get, like a Clean Snapdragon, Proboscis, or a Nature Talisman. I spoke to him up until the point where he tells me to get the 3 items I was required to get: an uncut diamond, a raw cave eel, and some edible seaweed. As soon as that message appeared, I logged off, canceling the conversation between he and I. Now, if what Galuza says is true, the next time I talk to him, he might give us a new fresh set of items, ones that might be less annoying to get than the previous 3. So I logged in, talked to him, and had the option to continue our conversation. The option I was asking you about fighting Tanglefoot was available to me now. When I selected that option and asked him what items I needed to get for him again, they were the exact same items: an uncut diamond, a raw cave eel, and some edible seaweed. Canceling out of the conversation does not reroll the items. I am curious though that if the items are predetermined for you when you start the quest or when you start the conversation with Malignant. It is, however, possible to manipulate the items you have to get for the Giant Dwarf quest. When you get to the part of the quest where you have to fetch certain ores for one of the companies, all you have to do is cancel out of the conversation and you'll be asked to get a different type and amount of ores every time. It's interesting how some quests allow you to reroll the items and some require you to get them. Such a unique game. This myth is kind of true, but also kind of busted, depending on the quest you're doing. Thanks for watching the second episode of RuneScape Mythbusters. As usual, if you guys like this video and the concept of this series, then please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and make sure to leave your RuneScape myths in the comments section below. And as usual, thanks for watching. If you would like to see episode 1 of this series or the last unusual money-making video I made, those will pop up on your screen for your viewing pleasure right now.